Welcome to the Mixtape Lounge. Carrie Stinson, Josh Martin. How are you, Mr. Martin?
What's up? I'm good. How are you, sir?
Man, tell us about Virginia Beach. And I got pictures showing as you're talking about it.
Right on. Wow. It was a crazy, fun, full weekend. Lots of people, lots of fans. Got some great gifts, super sweet gifts. Um, and had some great food. Went to Waterman's on the boardwalk. If you haven't been, go check it out. Super
Very cool.
yummy. Great seafood. Super great seafood. We went super deep, literally and figuratively, with the seafood platters on
Uh,
Saturday evening. It was good stuff. Uh, and got to see my cousin for a minute. And weather was
cool.
a nice little cool break. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've been 100. I didn't get the cool breaks. Been 105 here every dang day.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was thinking about everybody, sad about it, but at the same time, I had to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know?
Hey, so in last week's episode, you were talking
Uh,
about we might have a special guest.
I did. Yeah. I talked to my partner, Mr. Pearl,
Yeah.
who I saw in Bakersfield, or while I was in Bakersfield, I took a
Yes.
trip to
The
visit him at
professor.
his place. You know it, Mr. Tinker Putt, Professor Tinker Putt. And yeah, I texted him and I sent him a message. I told him to get in touch with you. So I don't know. Did you talk to him?
I did. And guess what happened?
What? Let me guess. He's busy. He's on tour. He's doing something.
Or he's right here, right now.
What? No way.
Here,
Serious?
here he is,
Well,
Mr. Pearl.
here it is. We got the smoke, the fire, and the professor. What more could you want?
Yes.
Here we go.
What's
So
up,
good to
Mr.
see you, Barry.
Pearl?
You too, Carrie. You too, Josh. This is a
Hello.
brilliant thing that you're doing here, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. Thank you so much. I'm honored that you reached out to me, buddies.
Not only did
Thanks
we
for
reach out to you,
thanks for
but
being
you are
here.
the first guest that we've had on the show.
There you go. So I'm a
Number
guinea pig.
one.
I'm basically a guinea pig, right, Josh?
You are not.
Yeah, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
No, no. We got all the kinks out before we got you on.
What a shame. I bet that was a lot of fun. You didn't include me in the kink getting out stuff.
Oh, we
No,
we talk
we
about you
saved you the headache.
all the time, Barry.
No doubt.
That's why the ears
Fondly.
are burning. That's why the ears burn.
Yeah, probably.
Is there any
Probably.
flesh left on my body, on my bones? What you want to
Sorry.
talk about, guys?
You know, the last time we were talking about, and so we should include you in this conversation. We were talking
Yeah.
about performing in LA at Universal. Do you remember?
Uh-huh.
What were
Yeah.
your experiences from that? Because it was such a cool experience performing there.
I had always wanted to perform there because I'd gone to concerts there. I went to concerts there before they put the roof on top. Saw, I think, John Denver there, saw Jackson, not Jackson Brown, James Taylor. So that was kind of cool to step on the stage, just like the Hollywood Bowl, when the cast of that not to be mentioned film that I did about the 1950s that really had a 70s feel to it.
Uh-huh.
Anyhow, uh, going on that stage where the Beatles performed in the early 60s. In any event, that was cool. But I do remember one thing that was a little nutsy. This friend of mine who has children, an actor, fellow actor, who I'd worked with, had come to see the show that day with his kids. And there was a portion of the show, as well, where the professor would come out onto the runway and play Simon Says with 6,000 screaming young folk, right? It's always a treat for me. And while you guys were back there, whatever you had to do, or whatever you were doing in between, as a little respite.
A little towel down, a little
Towel
bit of
down.
water.
Water, yeah, right. And so, yes. So I was out there doing my thing as the professor, and here my actor friend who knows better jumps up because he's sitting close to that runway. Hey, Barry! Hey, Barry! Hey, it's me! And I thought to myself, you're an actor. You know, I'm working here. I'm working here. And I ignored him. In fact, I want to say it's possible it might be on the DVD where that Simon Says thing appears. I want to say possibly it was caught there, but I couldn't believe, because our minds are like computers. You have one window open and another window open at the same time. So the window that's open is Professor Tinkerputt doing his thing. And then I'm aware of this person popping up and what this person is doing. And I want to keep this window open over here and shut this one. I couldn't believe that was happening, So that's one of the things that sticks out to me from the Universal gig.
And what did you do with that? How did you handle that?
Well, I just ignored him. Normally I could play that off, like in a club, you'd say, you want to come up here and give this a shot? But it wasn't that kind of a moment. I had to press on. And so I basically ignored it. And Josh, as an improv person, you don't ignore, you acknowledge, and you say yes to everything. This was one of those survival things, man. I had to get through this. So I just ignored it. But another thing I do remember is John Stamos coming back. No, it was about Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe came back. There's a bunch of celebs that had come back and brought their kids. And Rob Lowe was one of those people who I got to see then down the line and reminded him of that. And he was very, very sweet when I met him subsequently. So yeah,
That's very cool. Did you have other moments where that happened? But let's talk about with the kids, right? So you had a kid that was crying or a kid that was saying professor during any of those?
I didn't. Because it was all, if you want to think about it, it was all a distraction.
Right.
They did not. They weren't sitting there quietly for any of it.
Right.
So, Josh is, yeah, you're right. But that's what that was supposed to be, though. That's what was allowed there. That's where they could come and be themselves, like they're sitting in their living room watching television, even though it was live. They were allowed to scream and holler and that kind of stuff. I dug, that wasn't a bother at all. So I never felt distracted by all of that commotion, especially then, because it was only me on stage interacting with them and improvising with them. I'm sure there might have been things that I said back to them that was in keeping with the character, but never to a distraction.
And you didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of that because it was all pre-recorded mostly.
Well,
the spaces in between the pre-recorded were predetermined. So you you had to, if you were going to add a little something, it had to be quick.
Yeah, right. In those moments, with Simon Says, a whole different thing, because that was footloose and fantasy. But
yes.
Well, the one thing that pops out to me about that in particular, that we, as you say, we had to say the lines in between. But wasn't somebody writing gain on that though, Carrie? Wasn't somebody like putting pause on, or did that not work that way? Because I don't recall. Because you can do that now,
right?
But be that as it may,
I think,
yeah.
Willie in the beginning, I remember he might have been he might have been riding it a little bit, but I know after a while it was just play and make sure it doesn't skip.
Yeah,
or stop.
Exactly.
Right.
But I do remember one thing. We were in Tampa, I think, and remember how you got me to get on the Man Too? That
yes.
So
At Busch Gardens.
What's that?
At Busch Gardens.
Busch Gardens. So now, is that in Florida?
Yeah, in Tampa.
Yeah, okay.
Tampa.
So in Tampa, right? So I don't like roller coaster. I don't like that dipping feeling. I'm not worried about falling off. Right. It was not that kind of it took my breath. I just don't like that. And I kick and scream until then you get me on, which you did with everybody else. And I got on there begrudgingly. And the only way that I could get past that feeling is by screaming, as people do. That's probably why people scream, right?
Absolutely.
So we do one round, and now let's do it again. And Len, let's do it again. I must have gone on 4 times, screaming each time until I lost my voice. And I had to do a show that night. So the professor would come on and talk like this. But then, you
Oh,
know,
I
of
remember
course,
this.
when he starts to sing, that's all pre-recorded. And all of a sudden it started to sound like, my name's Professor Tinkerpot. You may think it's funny, but clear as a bell. Clear as a
That
bell.
was funny.
That was
Wow.
also the same time that People Magazine came down and interviewed me for what was the 25th anniversary of that film that will go unnamed. You know, and not because I want to name it, it's because of the strike situation. We're not supposed to talk about.
Right.
But and so they came to that event, to our show at this that day when I
Of
lost.
course. Oh, I forgot about
Yeah.
that till you
Yeah.
mentioned it.
You know, Barry, that, and I know you have to know this story, but it's, you know, it reminds me a little bit. If you remember being in Miami, and we were in Oakland, and this man twisted his ankle, and so I had to switch over and take the lead, except it was the Latin shows, which I was not prepared yet to lip sync that show. And I had to cram in.
Spanish.
Yeah, I did. I had to cram in to get that down, which of course was almost double time. It was so fast.
Sure.
Yeah, I get hey, you're gonna have to take the lead. And I'm like, oh my.
Yes. Yes. That's
Well,
right.
not to throw you under the bus figuratively, but he got me back when we were in Mexico, and that old what's the cliche Montezuma's Revenge
I had
it.
struck, and I did the whole show.
Well, except you didn't do the opening. I was doing the opening.
That's right. Yes, all of a sudden I was just waiting to go back to do the thing. I'm just chilling. They're like, "Gotta go." Shoot.
Wow.
And off I went, and he didn't come back.
And Barry, the worst part about it was when you do the opening in that venue.
Yes.
There's no side. So I was out there for the whole. There was no way to get me off stage.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm out there for 15 minutes in a really bad situation.
Yeah.
Trying to wave someone, trying to get someone to notice that I got to get off now.
Yes.
Immediately.
Oh my gosh.
And so thank goodness when the kids came out, I was able to skip off and he was able to skip on.
And you skipped right to the commode, right?
It was a rough, because I think I did part of the second show.
You did.
I think I came in
yes.
with the second
show. You did number 2 the second show. Yeah.
No, he did number 2 in the first show.
Good night, everybody.
That was in the dressing room, and it involved large fans. I mean, I was sweating out. It was, you know, and they had warned us all, because I know several people got it, and I thought I was so safe, and goodness gracious, who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
But when it hits.
Oh, I know from that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And wait to be of the age where you have to do that on purpose because you're undergoing a colonoscopy the following day. Yeah. You got to build a commode into the suit.
Hey, Mr. Pearl.
Yes, sir.
We're old enough now.
I was being kind. I was just being, not presuming.
Thank you. You are too kind. You are too kind. Hey, I wanted to ask something real quick, Pearl. I forgot. In Mexico, what was your part?
Everything I think was in English, if I'm not mistaken. I spoke in English, and I don't know whether they had translators or what, because I had a lot of dialogue. I wouldn't have spoken at all in Spanish. I don't remember.
No, you're right. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I might have thrown a phrase or something in occasionally, but no, none of. Because Carrie, you saying that you guys actually were lip syncing even the dialogue in Spanish?
Absolutely. Yes. I got 2 impressions of. I got my impression of Bob West, and I got my impression of the other guy in Mexico. and they're totally, and like the language of Spanish is just automatically more syllables. And
Yes.
so we were, instead
So
of
fast.
I love you, it was te quiero yo, y
Yeah.
tú a mí.
Yes.
And
Oh, wow.
it's Mama Gunza instead
Yeah.
of it's Mother Gunza.
Mama guns.
It's Mama Gunza.
I wonder whether or not they had somebody, or whether I recorded. I don't remember me recording Spanish unless they had somebody record it and I had to lip sync it. I don't remember that.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the CD because I got one. I still got it.
Of that. I mean, we have the DVDs or the VHSs of the Barney's Big Surprise, and
Surprise.
we got the other one, the Bedtime with Barney, but it's the Big Surprise. Would it be on there? Would the, or you have a specific Spanish one?
No, I have the recording that they gave us to rehearse.
Wow.
Got it.
But there was no rehearsing. There was no rehearsing. I mean, how am I going to learn the entire script in Spanish? I've been doing it for two years now.
Right.
I remember doing a TV interview with the voice, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I had to watch.
Yeah.
I had to watch because I couldn't hear her in my ear.
Yeah.
I had to watch her ask the question and then just hear him and guess what he was saying.
Yeah.
I hope this is what you mean. Anyway.
Yeah.
I did that as well. I went down before the tour and did that for like their version of, the Today Show, Good Morning, those other shows. And they gave me 5 words to listen for. So I knew how to blow a kiss. I knew how to hug. And I'm on their national TV listening for 5 words, jumping up and down and moving and having no clue. At all what's happening.
Wow. And
Sloan was there. So that's a lot of pressure in itself.
Yeah. So you'd be asked a question that normally you would say yes to, and you're going like this.
I'm just jumping up and down and wiggling and dancing.
Do you love playing Barney?
Right.
What do you mean no? Oh, I mean,
I didn't meet the voice until maybe 20 minutes before we went on air.
Wow. No clue. Wow.
Crazy.
I regret that I didn't go to the hospitals. I really do. With you, it wasn't required of me, but it's something I could have done, especially now after all the years that I've worked with kids on the spectrum. I regret but look, it was early in the morning, I didn't want to get up, and it was all about being lazy. Otherwise I could have done that, and I envy that you guys had the opportunity to do that. That's a beautiful thing that you did. But I only wish I know Mother Goose had gone at some point, and didn't some of the clowns go? Weren't there others?
I know Dave Voss did a couple times. Several times.
Yeah.
Yeah, they started that letting random people go along, tag along.
Yeah.
Well, Barry, my trick was I used to go climb in the bunk in like 4 in the morning or something, and I would put a note on the bus driver's seat that said I'm in the bunk. They'd all be going, "Where is Kerry? He's running late." And they'd be like, "No, actually, he's been here."
Yeah.
So I didn't have to deal with all that stuff. And they'd just wake me up and I would, go either to the hospital or the TV or both. Did you do that too, Josh?
No, I just got on the bus and leaned on the window in the front lounge until we got to the TV station of the hospital. Well, by the time we were at the hospital, especially towards the end, we had already done the TV show at 5 a.m. So I was after breakfast. Now afterwards, depending on how far the hotel was from the hospital, I might go crash in the bunk for a second, get a little nap, a little power nap in.
Hey, Barry, what were some of your other favorite cities?
Well, there was one, I want to say it might have been Tacoma. where
Okay.
I've told this story before. It was just so beautiful. And again, it involves the movie that shall have no name today. So it was in one of those venues where the bus is parked right down in the venue. It wasn't outside. That's how big the
Was it the Tacoma Dome?
It might have been Tacoma Dome.
Yeah.
So I come walking out after a show where, of course, everybody has seen Professor Tinkerput do his thing, right? And I start walking over towards our buses, and there was a family of about 5 standing there. And the mother had a 3-year-old in her arms, little boy. And as I'm walking over there, they're looking at me, and I know they want to have a hello or something, maybe even an autograph, whatever. So I walked over to them and started talking to them. And at one point, now again, they just came from seeing the show. And the mother says to the 3-year-old, referring to me, "You know who this is, don't you?" And the little boy said, "Yeah, Duty." 3 years old. He had just seen The Professor, but he's referring to the movie that will have no name today.
Wow.
I mean, 3 years old. And so that's one of the things that
What is that? Out of the mouth of babes?
Out of the mouth of babes. Exactly. So that was a cool thing. And of course, a Radio City Music Hall, when I got as sick as a dog, and Voss went on for me, and you took my then wife, who is turning 21, to Windows in the World, the tower.
Never forget that.
Where my cousin was performing that night in his band.
I remember that. There's things that you never forget.
That was the only time you'd been up there, right? Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Is that the only time you'd been up there?
Yeah.
I went the next day, but yes.
And it was a bummer that you weren't there that night. Like
well, yeah. I mean, it was my wife, her birthday, and I was sick.
Right. But now going back at it all, I don't know. There's just you and all that. It is what it is. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But you had that opportunity to have that experience pre 9/11.
Right.
Because my cousin was playing there, and I'd suggested, let's do this. So that all came together for you all, which is great. So remember that.
It's funny you mentioned all that, because I had so many amazing moments in New York over the years, and it was all through these wonderful Barney experiences, and people like Julie Johnson and you and Bob West, and because I'd never been, I had no idea. And I was getting to go, Julie took me to one of my first Broadway shows, and, you introduced me to places, and Bob West took me to places I'd never heard of and never been before. And it's just really interesting how the Barney people really opened up my experiences.
Oh, sure.
In New York. And of course, Radio City is just ridiculous.
All over the world, Kerry. I mean, we were very blessed in so many ways to be a part of this amazing phenomenon. What it did for us, seasoning us as human beings, developing friendships like this, something to be said about it. It bought my house. Joyner would talk about the house that Barney built.
Yeah.
Got a kind of similar situation, So I'm very grateful, very thankful. And I continue to wear my Barney watch.
Oh, look at that.
I do every day. It wasn't just for today. I wear it all the time. Great conversation piece too. Is that Barney? Yeah. Proud of it. But yeah, Radio City, going to Radio City as a kid to see the show and then a film for $1.75 or whatever it was back in the 60s, to performing on that stage. It's another one. What an opportunity for all of us.
Yeah.
No question.
Amazing. What was it like? You just got to see Smokey in person.
Please. That was delicious. So here's what kind of guy he is. So I'm in San Antonio, at an autograph signing event.
Yeah.
And I meet these 3 wonderful people who know Josh. One of them happens to be named Josh, who's about 8.5 feet tall, who's working security. He was an Indianapolis Colt and football player, professional football. Josh is his name. And two other great ladies, Cynthia and Tracy, and we hung out together. They took great care of us in San Antonio, and they said, "Hey, we're going to be in Bakersfield." And Josh, I think you had told me that you were going to be there. I said, "Yeah, I got to
Yes.
come up and see him." So a couple of weeks ago, they were there, and for several reasons, it was going to be tough for me to drive up there. So Josh says, "I'll come down to you." I said, "You sure?" Yeah, I mean, it's like a two-hour drive, whatever. I'm thinking, all right, so he will have rented a car and he'll come down. So no, he hadn't rented a car. The cat was going to Uber down from Bakersfield. I said, "You got to be kidding me. Let's figure, I'll drive you back." So, "No, Pearl, and dinner's on me," he says. I said, "Well, no, you're doing that. Dinner's going to be on me." So he agreed and he came down in an Uber. I mean, talk about being impressed, my God. Because it isn't just across the city, it's
Right.
2 hours, each way. So he comes down, comes over. We finish off this amazing bottle of scotch that I had bought in Liverpool, that I had actually I bought some in Liverpool and had sent to me because I don't send it in the States. There were just 2 shots left. And I thought, this is a good way to finish this bottle off with my smoky. So we finished her off. We went to have Cuban food. We then came back and we continued the party at my house for a little while. We could have talked all night, Josh. And my wife
No
was
doubt.
in the other room asleep, and I thought he's got to get back to Bakersfield. And I so didn't want the evening to end. And we could have literally, I mean, you could have, what we said, you should have just stayed overnight and then you could have gone back in the morning, but you had a flight to catch early morning. Is that what it was?
It was, yes, that was the deal.
Yeah. So we had a great time reminiscing, talking about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It just made me think that I only wish I had spent more time with him in that fashion when we were on the road. And we talked about those divisions that the dynamic that we live within. I mean, you had the crew and you had the cast, and
Right.
the twain met on occasion. But it was a little oil and water. We talked about at the beginning, the first year, until things straightened themselves out for the most part, and it got a lot more pleasant socially with the cultures colliding. But I was always available for that, as was my ex-wife, who, until she came out, it was when she came out, she kind of helped open up that door when she went to party with the crew. So, well, I'm down for that. In any event, that's a whole other half hour. But we talked about the idea that you guys had about doing a real documentary and talking about these days, the tour days. I mean, and getting down and dirty with it, because ultimately, I think the end result, despite the bumps and grinds, because every family has bumps and grinds, I think we got some great bumps and grinds that would be interested for the viewer who think of Barney, the Barney culture, in one way, but to expose it positively. And within that positation, there are some bumps and grinds. There's some truths that I think would be very interesting to expose, always with the notion that we're doing this to tell the full story so that a wider group of viewers get interested in seeing how something like this, there's more dimension, more depth to a kid's show, a kid's environment. I think would be very interesting, and I think we all need to sit down and put our heads together on that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because there was definitely bumps and grinds, but like everyone was out there for a reason, and yes. I think that's the part that was so cool. I mean, no one was clocking in, clocking out, right?
That's
you
right.
did whatever it took for whatever. If there was a meet and greet or a rehearsal needed to be done, and something the crew needed to, I mean, everyone was all in, which was one of the coolest experiences. I think we just had to learn each other, right? The different cultures involved. And obviously, I never been on the road with roadies before, but my God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's all that. It was a common cause. Yeah. That's the thread that bound all of us.
Yeah.
But like Josh said, interview Sloan, interview Jake, interview Lori, interview Hallie, all of them. Right. Anyone we can get, tell us your story from your heart.
Right.
The ups and the downs, the ins and outs, just tell it. We'll put it together, and tell the story. I know that there recently was this documentary that wasn't well received by the powers that be.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I know that it exposed it in a very negative light, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have never watched it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
No point for any of that stuff.
Yeah, right.
If we did this one though,
Yeah.
Barry, do I need to talk about playing poker with you?
Of course you do. Yes, you do. And you must use the labels, the rat bastard label.
There it is.
I'm
Yes.
trying to remember though, who took whose money?
Absolutely.
Yeah, who took whose money?
I don't remember that part.
Oh gosh,
Oh.
it got cutthroat playing. What did we play? Not hearts. What was it that we were playing?
God.
Was
Did we play Hearts?
Well, maybe it was hearts. We played a game. Was
Yeah.
it Phase 10? No, was it an Uno game?
No, I thought we were playing some type of card. We did this a bunch.
Yeah.
This
But
a
I thought
bunch.
that there was one particular game that we played, but were we betting money? Was it poker?
Yeah, I think it wasn't big.
It wasn't that it
stakes.
was points.
Yeah.
It was we scored, and I bet it was.
Something. It wasn't big stakes, but it was.
Yeah, it might have been spades or hearts or something, but it was one particular game.
I remember a lot of trash talking.
Oh, sure. And a lot of drinking rum and cranberry juice became the rat bastard, wasn't that?
Yes.
Rum and cranberry.
Rum and cranberry, the rat bastard.
The rat bastard.
Hey, before we got to wrap this thing up, 30 minutes goes way too quick.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know what you're up to. What are you doing?
Yes.
Right now, I've got 3 autograph signing events. One in Erie, Pennsylvania at the beginning of September. I'm looking at the calendar. One at the end of September in Seattle, and one in October in Edinburgh. So the one in Erie is with Jamie Donnelly, who plays Jan in the film, and then Seattle is everybody. It's the T-Birds, the Pink Ladies, except for Dee Dee Khan and our director Randall Kleiser, and then Edinburgh is T-Birds, Pink Ladies, Randall Kleiser. And again, with the strike, there are certain restrictions that we have, but we can still, we'll do it within those restrictions. So I got those 3 things happening.
Right.
The last gig I directed a production of Footloose. It got real critical acclaim, 6 great reviews, and auditioning for theater stuff because there's no TV and film.
Right.
I was actually asked, what was I asked to do? Well, there's some irons in the fire, but nothing in great part because of the strike, and just enjoying retirement a little bit, whatever that is. I'll still work.
That's what I was going to say. For you, you can't just sit around. You've got to keep going.
I stay fairly busy, and the autograph signing events that's fun. That gets us all back together again, and we all love each other. That's a big happy family too.
Well, and you still do your work with the special needs kids as well.
Yes. Now this year they cut way back. So I did Arkansas.
Okay.
Did one in Arkansas in April. They did one up north in Northern California, but that's all they did this year. Now we'll see what happens in the coming year. But yeah, for the last 10 years, I've been working with Joey Travolta's Inclusion Film Company, teaching film arts to the special needs community, which, that was
cool.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah. So, well, congratulations on your maiden voyage here with Mixtape. Is that what it's called? Mixtape? Yeah. Mixtape
Lounge.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, Barry, that was because his now wife, Shannon, used to make mixtapes.
Yes.
And we would sit on that bus and we would talk about life. We would get off the road for a moment and we would sit on there before we drove out of town and listen to these mixtapes when they were dating, back when they were dating.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool.
Yes.
Love it.
We decided to take that conversation and turn it into a podcast.
Great idea.
How could we not have Barry Pearl on this show?
Well, I can think of a
right.
lot of ways, but I don't want to influence you.
We thank you for being here, Mr. Pearl.
You are very welcome.
Always.
Thank you for having me.
I love you, Barry, and I miss you.
I love both of you and miss you guys as well. Mwah. Let's see each other again soon.
Yeah, we do need to do
it.
that. We need to do, Josh was mentioning, we've got to put a tour, some type of reunion like we did that last one. It's been so long ago.
That was a long time ago. I was there for some reason. I don't know why.
Weren't you doing Happy
Happy
Days?
Days, New Musical. That's right.
Yeah, because I came
Yeah.
and I watched it, picked you up, and we went over there.
That was a fun time. Let's do like something like that again. Would be just delicious.
Absolutely.
Love you guys.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Hey,
Very
Josh.
much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Have an awesome
We'll
day.
see you guys. We'll see you next week.
Okay.